A very short balancing rant. Because someone was asking me about this the other day. Like, what would I change? There's a lot I would change. Boom. Okay. Boom. 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 Let's do this. Boom. Boom. There we go. Okay. So now we're gonna start the rant. Someone asked me the other day what I would do if I had to fix the game, just for some very recent history. Got a couple changes that led us to where we are now, which is like this kind of weird dive sim reaper meta that's just like nothing is really good, and the kind of low life like characters that are not supposed to be good are kind of just the only things that are left in a usable state. And this is because hit scans got fucking destroyed. Like this patch that came out this season was like one of the worst patches ever in my opinion. We obliterated hit scan completely. Ram got completely obliterated. Hazard got super nerfed. They fixed armor, which is obviously should have happened, but on top of these two things, like destroyed these characters. So hit scans had to be replaced with these like weird situational characters. Mobile tanks were good, and it just like the whole playstyle is kind of controlled by the fact that there's no hit scan. This is the way that I would separate the characters of Overwatch. And I think that the way Overwatch, the dev team approaches balance philosophy is a combination of they look at the stats, they look at the pick rates and the win rates of these heroes across all the ranks, and they do actually give a decent amount of special treatment to the higher ranks. Like people complain a lot that they don't do that, but they literally do. Like if you listen to the dev talks, whatever, if you watch the guy that tweets about balance patches, like they look at GM and champ more than the other ranks because it just makes sense that you would use the people that know how to play the game as your litmus test for what's actually good and what's actually bad, right? And how to do those changes. The problem is that they look at heroes really individually. Like if you look at the way patches get balanced and characters get changed, you can tell that all they're doing is they're looking at very individual characters that are good or bad, buffing or nerfing those characters individually based on those stats. That doesn't give you a complete view of why things are the way they are. Why is Genji so good right now, right? Like the devs, I can just tell they looked at the stats and they saw Genji was really good right now, right? Especially in GM and Champion and Pro Play. And they said, okay, let's nerf Genji deflect. But this is a horrible change, in my opinion, because you're completely missing the reason why Genji is good. You're missing the point, right? And this is the point. A role needs to be balanced within itself. They look at Genji and they say, Genji's really strong, right? Let's nerf deflect. But what they're not looking at is that flex DPS as a whole is really strong. These characters are all really strong, and these characters are all really bad, right? Besides maybe like Hanzo in a couple of situations, right? And that's way more important than whether Genji and Tracer individually are good or not. Because if you just look at what characters are good, you miss all of these roles besides these bottom two need to always be good to some degree, right? There needs to be at least one good character in every role that's very thin ice, right? If we have like a hard meta, that's okay situationally for small periods of time, right? Players like hard metas where you can just learn one character, do your job. It can't go on for too long or it gets boring. There should at least be two or three good characters in every role, right? Ideally. And then we have a nice, diverse, fun meta where players get to fucking play the characters that they're good at or characters very adjacent to the characters they're good at, right? And this is important not just for pro play, but for normal people that play the game. You know, if you're a Sojourn player and Sojourn gets nerfed into the ground, you don't want to switch to Genji, right? No matter whether you're a pro player or a diamond player, right? You want to switch to a character that's adjacent, that is very close. It's easy for you to kind of pick up and still get some of the enjoyment out of, right? This is the big failure of modern Overwatch balance, in my opinion. When you look at this patch right now and look at which of these roles are actually good, it keys you in to what's going on with the game right now, right? Why are the situational DPS, this tier of DPS that should be situational, why are they so good everywhere all the time right now, right? If you go look at pro play, one of these characters is in every game on every map. That means something is wrong because these characters are supposed to be situational, right? Same thing with these. Wu Yang, Zen, Alari, right? Wu Yang is turbo overtuned. He should be situational, right? And this is maybe something that's like arguable. This is a new character. This is strongly my opinion, right? But there are some characters that should be situational. And if your situational characters are every broken in every instance across every map, that means something is wrong. If one of your main roles, hit scan, flex DPS, ground tanks, dive tanks, are ever entirely wiped off the grid, that also means something is wrong. And that needs to be addressed before you try fixing everything else, right? So this patch, they saw Ball was good, they nerfed Ball. They saw Genji was good, they nerfed Genji, right? But you're ignoring that almost all of the ground tanks, besides Zarya, which should objectively be the worst ground tank in the game, are just all dog shit, right? Why are all of these ground tanks dog shit? Why are all of these hit scans dog shit? This is balance philosophy take number one. Every role, with the exception of, I haven't mentioned these tiers, right? Situational supports, I don't think these have to be good all the time, right? This tier of characters should always be kept intentionally bad for the health of the game, right? These characters are design failures that should never be good in a serious game environment, right? These are characters that were put in the game for new people to pick up kind of easily. There's a room for that. I think that makes sense. You need to get new players into the game, right? There should be easy characters that they can learn. These characters should always be kept intentionally bad for the health of the game. If any of these characters is ever actually good, you have failed so badly that you need to drop everything and patch the game tomorrow. The way that you specifically go about it, how do you target things? Power creep versus nerfing philosophy. When you're balancing roles, you should take a power creep approach first, and then you can take a nerfing approach to individual heroes within the roles, is the way that I would do it. Hit scan is dog shit. Ground tanks are dog shit. Power creep the role first, right? Make the role good and usable, and then individual characters within the role can be taken down the power level. As you power creep a role, you'll realize which people are the turbo thread, and those are the things that should be done quickly as well, right? I think Zarya, Rein, Sig have kind of really suffered from 5v5, and I think these characters need slight reworks. That's maybe would be the third step, is like if you buff a role and then we nerf individual characters, say we buff ground tanks, we nerf Ram, but Zarya, Rein, Sig are still just not really getting played at all everywhere, right? These characters need slight reworks to keep them up with 5v5. They were designed for 6v6. They've been failed by 5v5. All the dive tanks have been able to keep up. They have their niches. These characters need slight reworks. Is there anyone else that needs a rework? Sombra. Maybe Zen needs a tiny rework. This is good. Hog. Hog does not need a rework. Hog needs to just be dog shit forever. That's his curse. The tanks specifically, they need ways to keep up with these tanks, right? They need to be able to positively fight with other tanks in a way that makes any sense. These tanks cannot fight other tanks, right? Ryan gets shit on by half of his own category if he tries to fight them. Zarya gets shit on by by everyone in her own category if she tries to fight them. Sig gets shit on by everyone in his category, right? So these tanks need reworks. They need the ability to fight other tanks, right? That's all they need to do. CD trade in a way that's hopefully skillful, right? Zarya is good in this one meta where everything else is so broken that Zarya is by default the only thing that works that's left. This is the only time Zarya has been playable in over 2 years. Sombra was not failed by 5v5 necessarily, but she kind of suffers from being unfun to play against. The unfun part to play against is that Sombra can hack while invisible, right? That's insanely unfun. I think she needs old translocator back 100%, but I think something needs to be done to invisibility. Either it needs to be a resource meter again, right? Like you turn it on and off. Maybe she can just turn it on and off whenever she wants, but it has a resource meter or something like that. That's what I would do, right? Like DM. You can DM and undm whenever you want, but there's a resource meter on it, right? And then all of a sudden it takes some skill. If you start to hack, you become visible instantly, right? That's it. She gets old translocator back so she doesn't fucking die instantly. EMP should be a really good ultimate. That's it. Quick recap. What the fuck was tenet number 3? Does anybody remember? Tenet number 1, balance the rules before you balance the heroes. This should be done by power creeping them up, right? Buff 2 or 3 things in the role at a time. Make sure the role is good. When a role is good, then we can move on to tenet number 2. Balance the characters. This should be done mostly with nerfs, right? You can tune individual CDs down, health down, whatever, right? Tenet number 3, I think, was me talking about specifically how I would do it, right? Right now, as an example, the hit scans need power crept. The ground tanks need power crept, right? Number 4, there are certain characters that have been failed by 5v5 that need reworked, right? Tanks don't need gigantic reworks. They need to be able to fight other tanks. These tanks can't fight other tanks, so they're fucking useless, right? This Zen needs a rework. Sombra needs a rework, right? Tenet number 5, there are characters that should just always be bad. Hog, Mercy, Junk, Bastion, Moira. These characters should never ever be actually good in a serious environment, in GM Plus, in Champ, in Pro Play. These characters, if this character is good, it's a sign that you fucked everything up so badly that we need to just nuke the entire field and go back to square one, right? If we did this, I promise it would be so easy. Like, I know there's lots of people that have lots of opinions on game balance and game design, and I do want to be fair to the devs. Like, it's really easy for me to sit in my fucking chair when I don't have to do anything and nobody's flaming me and slinging hate. Like, the Overwatch community slings an insane amount of hate at these devs. The casuals, the pros, you're just getting bombarded constantly. To be fair, most of it's deserved, but it can't be good for your mental health and for trying to do your job, right? So it's easy to just say, oh, you should do this, right? But me specifically, I happen to be right about everything. So it's a different situation, right? Where I am actually right about all of this. Most of the people that say this shit have no idea what they're talking about.